Hi there, Karen Flaherty here from Living by Human Design with your weekly transit report. Today we're going to talk about the gate 64 and what it means. It's all about confusion. So what we've got this week is the sun in gate 64, which is typically called the gate of confusion. It's part of the abstract channel that's up in the head. Up here, this is 64. Interestingly enough, we've got 61 and 63 in this week as well, because the 64 is in the sun and the 63 is in the earth. And so we are, we actually call these the three gates of madness in human design. So it's an interesting place to be, and seeing what's going on in the world, you probably would not disagree. So we've also got 64 in the sun, 63 over here, which is the doubt and suspicion. It's the gate of doubt and suspicion right up here. And this all started yesterday afternoon, September 3rd, and it goes until September 8th. So it'll be an interesting week. It's a very kind of heady week, right? It's very much in the head. It's all about the gates of consciousness. And then starting tomorrow, or actually really later tonight, September 4th, what's going to happen in the transits, besides having those gates in the head, what we're also going to have is the gate 20 coming off the throat, connecting with the gate 34, and these are in the north and south nodes. Now, the north and south nodes of the moon usually don't make a big deal for people. It's not usually a big energy emphasis for people. But what's happening here is that the entire world is going to feel as if, at times, as if they have the throat defined, which is going to have everybody feel like they can be talking, and the sacral defined, which is going to affect anybody who doesn't have the sacral defined. So that would be the projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. And it's just a very interesting energy, because it's the archetypical way that we have manifesting generators become manifesting generators. It's what makes them manifesting generators, because it's this very unique link right from the sacral all the way up to the throat, and that's what makes them what they are. And so that this gives everybody the feeling of being manifesting generators. Now, whether you use that or not is up to you. This is always the choice with the transits, right? You can use that effect or not. As always, I'll say you want to use your strategy and authority to make decisions. In other words, if you happen to be a non-sacral being, so one of those reflectors, projectors, or manifestors, you might feel like you have more energy. That doesn't mean you have to go and go and go and do and do and do. You can still commit to things that make sense for you and not commit to other things. And then for those of you who might feel as if you've got more voice energy, more throat energy, and you want to say something or speak up or things like that, just remember that you want to follow your type and strategy and your strategy and authority to make sure that you're making decisions that make sense, that you're speaking up when it makes sense, that you're not overusing this energy. It will be in, though, until it's a long-term transit. And that's, again, why I mention it. And I'll be mentioning it in the coming weeks as well. But this is going to continue until through the end of the year, and actually until January 18th. So everybody's going to be feeling this energy. And it's really the start of the we're calling it the 2027 mutation, which is coming up in now 5 years, and things will be changing. Things will be changing in the charts. Things will be changing in our energies, and this is really just the beginning of that. So just something to watch and be aware of. It will start, as I said, later this evening. So this week we've got the sun in gate 64, the earth in gate 63. As I said, the gate 64 is called the gate of confusion. It's also called before completion in the original I Ching, meaning it's that there might be some confusion before you actually start something. And so in the book, they say transition, like birth, requires a determined strength for the passage through. And what this means is that there's always a process, right? There's always a way of getting through something, and the confusion that starts at the beginning of any project or event or things that are going on in your life always works out, right? We figure things out, we work them out in our, whether in our mind or with our strategy and authority, and we get through them. But it's always a passage, it's always a process. And the incarnation crosses this week are the cross of consciousness, the cross of confusion, and the cross of dominion. And in the gene keys, we've got confusion as the shadow, imagination is the gift, and illumination is the CD. So for the gate 63, which is on the other side, so confusion is on the, think of it as being on the abstract side of the, but it's the left, it's a left brain, right brain conundrums here. So 64 is one and 63 is the other. 63 is very logical, 64 is very abstract. And so they're really playing off each other this week, right? So we've got confusion in the 64 where the information comes in, and basically your, with the gate 64, the information comes in, it feels confusing at first. It's almost like a download of information, but then you figure it out, you have an aha moment, and you then are able to continue on with whatever you're up to. With the 63, it's a lot more logical. So it's really the beginning of the hypothetical process, and it's all about doubt and suspicion. So you're asking the questions about what's out there, right? What's wrong with this event that's going on? What's wrong with this thing? Why isn't that working? It's all these questions about doubt, with, questioning that as doubt and suspicion. Now, it's not to be turned inside. It's not to be turned against yourself in terms of doubting and suspecting yourself. It's literally to be doubting and suspecting things outside of you. And so it's called doubt and suspicion, or after completion in the original I Ching, because this is a lot more logical and it does help you to get to the answers. And in the spiral of life, all ends are beginnings. So that's kind of a cool way to look at it. But you are, it's the beginning of, as I said, of the hypothetical process, and it leads to the answers that you'll need for any question that you're asking. In the gene keys, doubt is the shadow, inquiry is the gift, and truth is the CD, because in the end, you will get to the truth. So in the gene keys, Richard talks about, as I said, confusion, imagination, and illumination. And I like this graphic where he has all color is infinite, because this really, when you think about the abstract information that's coming in through this gate of confusion, what it leads to is first imagination and then illumination. And the imagination is when we can get rid of the confusion. It's when we can really start to get to the answers that we're looking for, those moments when we have illumination, right? When we all of a sudden see the light, when the confusion goes away, and it's really a beautiful energy, but it is very abstract when it comes in, and it can be very confusing at the beginning. He also says the moment the mind stops thinking is when the confusion ends, which shows you what a sham it is. So it's the mind really that's in the confusion, and if we just kind of let it be, sit with the information that's come in and allow it to process, to integrate, we'll then be able to come up with the answers that we're seeking. He also says if you allow your pain or the world pain to be expressed through an artistic process, you will see alchemy in progress. And what he's talking about here is that, which is, Richard always gets pretty deep, but basically his idea is that if we're confused because we're not allowing the pain. And so there's really levels and layers and layers of pain within each and every one of us. It's kind of the acceptance of that allows you to let go of the confusion and allows you to then get to your imagination and be a lot more willing to let go of the layers and layers of pain. Ironically, he suggests that we can get rid of the pain if we're either in solitary confinement or if we're meditating. Kind of two very different ends of the spectrum there, right? But basically, we'll see the pain levels if we're in solitary confinement because all of the outside effects go away. Basically, we're distracted, right? We get distracted by everything that's going on in our lives, and we don't pay attention to the pain that we might have from all kinds of things in life, right? And because we don't pay attention to the pain, it just festers there. And so he's saying that if we let go of the pain, if we notice the pain, let go of the confusion, and deal with the pain, preferably with meditation, we can let go of layers and layers and layers. It'll take time, but we will be able to get rid of it eventually, and then get to a point where we can feel artistic, where we can actually feel as if we can let go of the pain, allow it to leave, or embrace it and allow it to stay. Either way is fine. Either way, the pain is considered a shadow to a certain extent, but you can embrace it or let it go. It's really your choice. And either way is fine, but it's just noticing that, so that you can finally get to a point where you're not either in the status quo like everybody else is, or angry about the status quo, right? Those would both be kind of shadow effects of the confusion. And so once you're once you're letting go of the status quo, and you're getting to the pain body and able, as Eckhart Tolle talks about, when you get to the pain body and you're able to understand that and let go of it and get through the ego, let go of the confusion and get to the imagination, that's the real crux of it. And then eventually to illumination, which he considers to be even lighter than imagination. But he thinks of imagination as the artistic process. So I just thought that was an interesting construct that he talked about, and so I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that helps. So here are some of the personalities born in the Sun Gate 64, and I have to say that there were so many people born, famous people, personalities of all types, but so many different people born during this time that it was almost way too many to put down. But what was interesting is because 64 is all about abstract thinking and abstract ideas and really different thinking, right? Different, that confusion is a misnomer in a way, because it's really about brilliance. It's about bringing in the abstract thoughts that nobody's thought before and getting to that imagination, right? Where nobody has thought these thoughts before. That the list was just too long to even put down. I put down some of the names, but what was really interesting was that so many people were Nobel, and you wouldn't know their names, but so many people were Nobel Prize winners and Pulitzer Prize winners. And really the Nobel Prize winners were the biggest ones, but it made a lot of sense given the gate that we're in. So we've got Raquel Welch, the composer Strauss, Beyonce, and Jay-Z, which was interesting because that means that they actually share, but they both have the same Sun Gate of 64, which is interesting. That means they share those values in their relationship of the exact same four gates in their incarnation cross. Which usually makes for a very good relationship because it's so much shared values and really almost like twin flames. Peter Sellers, another actor, Bernie Sanders, the senator, Pink, the singer, Michelle Williams, another actress, Adam Sandler, Craig Claiborne. I put that in because besides Craig Claiborne, who was a wonderful chef and author, the Count or the Viscount who created Chateaubriand was also born during this period. So I thought that was kind of funny. Richard Wright, the author of Native Son, and A.C. Nielsen, the creator of the Nielsen ratings for television. So this week in history, from September 4th to the 8th, there are a lot of things going on, including the Edison Electric Company getting started with as a generator serving 85 customers. The first transcontinental television broadcast in America is carried by 94 stations in 1951. Mark Spitz got 7 gold medals at the Olympic Games. And in 1972, and in 1998, it was the founding of Google with Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So and then in September 5th, Marie Curie demonstrates the transformation of radium ore into metal at the Academy of Sciences in France in 1910. That was really unusual for a female scientist to be. In 1978, peace process began between Egypt and Israel with Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat. And in 1504, I thought this was interesting, Michelangelo's 13-foot marble statue of David is unveiled in Florence, Italy, and it sits there to this day. So I don't think it's ever been moved. So that would be an interesting feat if it was, but I was lucky enough to see it in Florence a few years ago. In 1565, the Spanish explorers founded St. Augustine in Florida, which is not too far from my home. But it was the first permanent European settlement in what is now the United States. So it is really one of the oldest, it is the oldest city in the United States, and is over 450 years old at this point. And then New Amsterdam surrendered to the British fleet that sailed into its harbor. And 5 years later, the British changed the name to New York. And so that was a big deal. That was the big start of New York. And in 1971, the Kennedy Center opened. And in 1974, President Ford pardoned Richard Nixon for any crime. So you can see that a lot of these were, some of them were physical, but a lot more of them, I would say, are kind of heady, informational kinds of things that happened, and things that were probably years in the making. So it's that kind of energy this week. You might get an idea. You might all of a sudden have a stroke of brilliance and something that you might want to follow up on in the years to come. You never know the kinds of energies that might come in this week. And so I encourage you to explore what might come in, be aware of what might be coming in and what you might be thinking about, and just know that it's going to feel very abstract, but it can be balanced by the logical side as well. So have a great week, have a thoughtful week, and look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.